Welcome to an episode of Gaming News. On today's video, we'll be talking about Blizzard, the scandal, and what the fallout potentially means for the future of such games like Diablo 4, World of Warcraft, Overwatch, and more. And so, from Adrian's Corner, I'm Adrian, and our episode starts now. So to understand what this means for the future IPs of Blizzard, let's take a look at how we got here. Over this past year, Blizzard has been embroiled in public and legal fallout from a July 20th California Department of Fair Employment and Housing lawsuit filed against Activision's Blizzard stemming from numerous complaints about unlawful harassment, discrimination, and retaliation. Employees that the DFEH spoke to claimed that Activision Blizzard has a, quote, a breeding ground for harassment and discrimination against women. Following the announcement of the lawsuit, more than 3,000 of the Activision Blizzard employees signed an open letter to management, making a call for official statements that recognize the seriousness of the allegations and demonstrate compassion for victims of harassment and assault. Now, Blizzard responded shortly thereafter using their World of Warcraft team to announce plans to remove references from WoW that are quote-unquote not appropriate, which included NPCs and items related to Alex Afrasiabi, who had been terminated by Blizzard Entertainment the previous year in June of 2020 following internal reports of sexual misconduct dating all the way back to at least 2013. However, matters became worse when Blizzard executive Fran Townsend on August 1st of this year tweeted an article with the title "The Problem with Whistleblowing," and later followed up by blocking company employees on the Twitter platform. This, of course, added even more fuel to the fire, giving gaming news media outlets like IGN and PC Gamer more cannon fodder to pounce on. And so, in less than 24 hours later, the T-Mobile branding for both the Overwatch and the Call of Duty League on their websites was removed. This then caused a flurry of resignations to follow. First, you had the Blizzard president himself, J. Allen Brack, resign as head of the studio, followed by head of HR Jesse Meshuk. Then, 3 longtime members of leadership within the company also quit. This would include Diablo 4 game director Luis Barriga, lead level designer Jesse McCree, and World of Warcraft designer Jonathan LeCraft. Blizzard, now reeling from setbacks, decided to rename McCree in Overwatch, but the hits just kept on coming. And so, on September 14th, Activision Blizzard employees and an organization called the Communication Workers of America filed an unfair labor practice suit with the National Labor Relations Board, alleging that Blizzard told employees that they cannot talk about wages, hours, and working conditions or related investigations, and also threatened or disciplined employees on account of protected concerted activity. And so, even more resignations followed. First, Blizzard's chief legal officer quit the company after being with Blizzard for 3 years, followed by the, quote, well-respected Overwatch 2 executive producer Chaco Sani. Activision then attempted to stem the bleeding, responded again by publicly announcing an update on workplace initiatives that stated that we continue to work in good faith with regulators to address and resolve past workplace issues. We also continue to move ahead with our initiatives to ensure that we are the very best place to work. We remain committed to addressing all workplace issues in a forthright and prompt manner. Now, this press release was then followed a month later with the Activision CEO Bobby Kotick announcing a personal pay cut in total compensation to just $62,500 for the year. And then, in a press release on the same day, Activision Blizzard addressed additional efforts towards employee demands, including waiving mandatory arbitration for sexual harassment and discrimination claims. The publisher said it wants to increase the percentage of workers who identify as women or non-binary by 50%, in part by investing $250 million into game and tech diversity initiatives. Unfortunately, this just gave the naysayers of the company more ammunition to take aim with, and less than a week later, the new Blizzard co-head Jen Oneal would step down, just 3 months after having taken the job. And then, to add insult to injury, there was reports that she spoke to Activision Blizzard's legal department claiming that she had been sexually harassed at the company, and was quoted as saying that, "I have been tokenized, marginalized, and discriminated against." And so the hits just keep on coming, as the long knives are now out for Blizzard. So what does this mean then for the future of games at Activision Blizzard? Well, while the public and internal fire continues to rage over at Activision Blizzard, the future of the company's franchise IPs is in doubt. For example, let's take a look at Diablo 4 and what is starting to look like a grim future for this IP. Now, this is perhaps the most anticipated sequel in the company's roster. Now, while Activision Blizzard's spokesperson is on the record claiming that we have a deep, talented roster of developers already in place and new leaders have been assigned where appropriate, we are confident in our ability to continue progress, deliver amazing experience to our players, and move forward to ensure a safe, productive work environment for all. The fact remains, though, that with a change in leadership, so too does the shift in vision for each and every one of Activision Blizzard's IP. So why then does it matter if leadership changes come when it comes to development of games? Well, all we have to do is look at a few game IPs that lost their way with either changes of leadership through new company ownership or forced changes of direction from higher-ups within a company structure. Now, an example of this, and probably the most recognizable one, would be Duke Nukem Forever. Now, this game endured a severely protracted development cycle that lasted 15 years. It was originally announced back in 1997 following the success of Duke Nukem 3D. However, Duke Nukem Forever underwent several delays, which led to 3D Realms stating back in 2001 that the game would be released, quote-unquote, when it's done. After losing its development team, however, in 2009 due to 3D Realms downsizing, the game was then finished by Triptych Games, Gearbox Software, and Piranha Games, and was finally released on June 14th of 2011. And it was a disaster. Mostly unfavorable reviews from critics who criticized the graphics, dated humor, story, simplistic mechanics, and unpolished performance and design. Now, this had everything to do with Gearbox Software, obviously having no clue as to what made the original Duke Nukem 3D so popular. This game was an embarrassing cash grab, which most likely has destroyed the franchise permanently. I bought it, I played it, it was hot garbage. I would never load it up again, and it's in the dustbin of hidden games within my Steam library. Now, another example of this would be Dead Space 3. While it received ridiculously positive reviews by such sellout game reviewers like Game Informer and Polygon, the truth was the IP had completely lost its way after abandoning the horror focus of the previous 2 installments, and instead focused on action over horror, which was entirely against what the entire franchise was about in the previous 2 installments. Now, you couple this with a weak, unfocused story and shoehorning of forced co-op experience, whether playing solo or not, and don't get me started on its introduction to use of microtransactions, the game would pale in comparison to its predecessors, and needless to say, the Dead Space 3 title suffered heavily from poor sales, and would wind up never producing another installment in the series. Although, silver lining, it does look like the original title is finally getting a remake, so perhaps there is hope yet for that franchise. In any case, bringing it back to Diablo 4 and all other games in development over at Blizzard. Because of all the negative focus on the company and subsequent loss of leadership within, fear of public backlash, and new leadership within each game IP has a very high chance of producing underwhelming releases in the future. Now, one can hope that the devs producing Diablo 4 can overcome the company implosion and keep the vision that was in place prior all this fallout occurring, and keep the idea intact. But more than likely, there is a good chance that with the Blizzard legal and public fallout, and with new ideas percolating among the new game IP leadership roles, old ideas and game direction/vision will clash, ultimately leading us to an end result that perhaps no one will be happy with. And that, my friends, brings this episode to a close. And as always, thank you so much for joining me today. From Adrian's Corner, I'm Adrian, and I'll see you all next time.